Hey guys, Ryan Singleton here. I'm the Groups and Outreach Director for Orchard Church. I've been in this role for the last 2 years. Been on staff here at Orchard for a little over 5 years. Previously, I was the youth pastor, and then I transitioned into the role as the Groups and Outreach Director, something I am very, very passionate about. And so, first off, just wanted to say thank you so much for signing up to be a small group host. I'm going to walk you kind of through this material of what is normally included in a physical notebook. Just want to let you know, if you want that actual physical notebook, just email me, let me know, and I'll make sure to have one here at the church ready for you with your name on it. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and send all of this information to you, I say digitally, but by email, and so that way you can check it out. I highly advise having the actual notebook, because if you're anything like me, it's just nice to have one place to have all of your material. I get so many different emails that when people send me stuff like that, attachments, I just lose it eventually. So if you want that folder, let me know. Would love to get that in your hands. I just want to let you know the purpose of this meeting. Really, the purpose is to make sure that you feel equipped and ready to go to lead and host a small group. The last thing I would want is for you to feel like you're on an island and you're completely on your own, you have no support. That's completely what we don't want. Instead, I want you to feel ready. I want you to feel equipped. And not only that, I want you to understand the expectation of being a small group host. And so that way you know what you can, what you can't do. I'm all about empowerment, which I'm going to get to here in a moment. But then also just knowing how to take attendance with our system. Knowing how to access our system. We have a church database, and so that way you can go in and look at your group at any particular time. So that's the purpose of this video. I'm going to make it short and sweet. It's just me on here, and so there's not going to be a whole lot of interaction, obviously. So I'm just going to keep going, and then that way you don't have to sit here and watch a video for over an hour. Don't worry, it's not going to be an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through this. Hold on one sec while I set this up. All right, so you should be able to now see my screen. And don't mind all those little boxes there, but what we're gonna be taking a look at is the small group host guide. And so this is what you'll receive. This is what you'll be able to access through your email. And then if you want that physical copy, this is all included in that folder. I'm going to go to the first page, and we're going to start off and talk about Orchard small group host expectations. So I'm going to go ahead and read off a few of these, and I'm going to explain it. And the first one is to be in agreement and support of Orchard Church's leadership team mission, which is helping people find and follow Jesus, and our disciple-making process of reach, relate, reproduce. Also to be in agreement and support of Orchard Church's core beliefs and statement of faith. And so one of the things I wanted to say off the bat is if you filled out the small group host form and you selected that you're not an Orchard Church member, or if you thought you were, but in our system you're listed as not, what will automatically be done is you're going to be sent information to be filled out, like an application to become an Orchard Church member. Now, I understand there are some of you that maybe have been attending Orchard for many, many years, and you consider yourself a member. You know what? I would consider you a member as well. But the truth of the matter is, unless you've actually gone through this material and this process, at least in our system, you're still listed not officially as a member. And so the first step that you want to complete is make sure you go through that membership profile, you fill out all that stuff, read over our membership information. The most important thing about this is the last thing that we would want is to place leadership or somebody in a place of leadership that doesn't believe the same things that we believe. And that's the reason why we have membership. And so, for instance, maybe with, it says be in agreement, support of Orchard Church's core beliefs and statement of faith. Maybe you don't believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior. That's a big deal. That's something that we don't want in one of our small group hosts. And so that's why we have membership, and that's why we want to encourage you, look over the membership material, make sure that you're in agreement with everything. Now, keep in mind, there are major beliefs, and then there are minor beliefs. If you believe that the rapture will never take place and that we're going to go through the tribulation, but you believe Jesus is Lord and Savior, that's okay. You can be a small group host. If you believe that you should pray with your eyes open, that's all right. You can still be a small group host. But if you don't believe Jesus is God, that is a major red flag, and you're not going to be allowed to be a small group host, and you're not going to be allowed to be an Orchard member. So all of our small group hosts, we view them as leaders. We are entrusting you with people. We are, allowing people to look up to you, and that's what's naturally going to happen if you're leading a small group. People, when they have questions, when they have prayer requests, they're going to come to you as the leader of your small group. And so that's why we want to make sure that all of our leaders across the board, we're all moving in the same direction. Hopefully that makes sense to you. The third piece is be committed to meet at least every other week with your group, take attendance, and be prepared with sermon series questions and or study material. This is really important. We want you to at least commit to meeting every other week. I've always said with all of our small groups, the more often that you can meet, the more fruit you're going to see, the more you're going to get out of it. And that's why we encourage at least every other week. We've had some small groups try to do the once a month thing, and it's good, but it's not great. It's so much better when you can get together at least every other week. Another important part on that is to take attendance. This isn't taking attendance just for numbers' sake. This is making sure that nobody falls through the cracks. That's the last thing that we want for small groups. Before COVID hit, we had 751 people in small groups. That's a lot of people to keep track of. And so for you just being in charge of your small group, whatever amount of people that is, from 4 to 12 or whatever it is, we just ask that you take attendance. And then that way you can be mindful of who's attending your small group and who isn't. Maybe somebody doesn't attend your small group for 3 weeks. Check in on them. Make sure that they're all right. We had one occasion where somebody actually went to the hospital and was there for 3 weeks. And the person, the leader would have never known that had they not been taking attendance. And because they were taking attendance, they're like, you know what, maybe I should follow up with this person. They followed up with them. They're able to meet with them in the hospital, and now they've been friends ever since. And so it's so important to take attendance, not just for your own small group, but also our small group ministry across the board. We want to know how many people in our church are getting involved in small groups. And if it's a very little number, then we want to try to switch up our strategy to try to get more and more people involved as well. Or if even people are falling off the wayside, we want to know, okay, well, what's going on? Is there something going on in that group? So please, we encourage you every week, take attendance. Also be prepared with your sermon series questions and or study material. So if you're leading a financial peace group or an activity group, or a Bible study, or a sermon series question, just be prepared with whatever that curriculum is beforehand to go over with your small group. The next one is be faithful to communicate with the group's director and read any emails sent from leadership to be up to date on any information regarding small groups. I'll primarily be communicating by email, but I also create a Facebook group and try to invite all of you to that. And because the reality is, I think a lot of us, we check Facebook a lot more often than we do our email. So that's the reason why I've created that separate group. And so I'll be posting all those updates in that Facebook group as well. Also, to be in agreement, to participate once a semester in a local outreach event. That's one of your choice in the spring, for right now in the spring. For those groups that meet in the fall, we want you to do one outreach event. And then also in the summer, if you're meeting in the summer, we encourage you, one outreach event. The reason for this is because I believe that we are the most like Jesus when we serve. And can you imagine, just for a moment, we have like around 58 small groups right now. Before COVID, it was 75. Each one represents around 8 to 10 people. And so can you imagine 700, 750, or in this season, 550 people investing in doing something in our community outreach related. Some of those might be something that we're doing as a church that I provide for you, but maybe it could just be helping a neighbor out. It could be providing, doing a school supply drive and providing school supplies for a nearby school, or going to downtown Denver and helping out with the Denver Rescue Mission, or something else maybe that your group is passionate about. That's the reason why we do that. We don't want our small groups just to be focused on the four walls of where they're meeting, but also outside the four walls of where they're meeting. With your small group, it creates this camaraderie, it gives a common purpose, a common goal, and believe it or not, it'll actually bring all of you together as a small group closer together. So it's really, really cool. We make that a requirement because we're such firm believers of serving in our community. And the last one is be committed to the 4 goals of a small group host. We're going to go over those in just a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and read them off to start. These are the 4 goals that for you as a host. Number 1, to lead a spiritual discussion. Number 2, to lead people to their next step. I'm going to explain that here in a bit. Number 3, to lead people to serve. And then number 4, to lead another leader. So let's go ahead and take a look at the goals for a small group. Scroll on down. What are the goals of your small group as a whole? Well, the goal of every small group would be these three things. And this would be, I would argue, probably the reason why a lot of people join a small group. And the first one is for community, to build community within your group. Especially in this COVID season, it is so important that we have community. We are stronger together. And so that's one of the goals of your small group. We want people to come together and have community with each other in your particular area where you live. The second is care, to care for others within the group. Not only do they have that community, but they feel cared for. They feel like they belong because you actually you care about their well-being. You pray for them, you reach out, you're asking how they are doing or how their family is doing. That's what everybody is looking for, a group that truly cares about them. And then number three, contributing, to serve together. And like I said, we require this. We want everybody to serve together once over the semester in their community, because we believe that when we are contributing together, you guys will bond closer together as a group with that common purpose. And so what are the goals as a small group host? I read them off just recently. First is to lead a spiritual discussion. Let's break that down. We have a lot of different types of groups. We have activity groups. We have financial peace groups. We have co-ed Bible studies. We have MOPS groups. I'm just going off the top of my head. We have sermon series questions group. And so we have all these different types of groups. But what separates our small groups from any other type of activity, like take an activity group, for instance. Okay, we can get a bunch of people together and play golf. But what separates us as a small group is that at a certain point, we are going to have a spiritual discussion. I'm leading out a men's softball group this spring 2021 semester. And so I'm going to start off right off the bat, like, hey, this is a church small group. We're going to pray together as a team. But I'm not going to, start off too much too soon right off the bat. I'm going to be very strategic with it. It's like, all right, let's just gather together and let's pray. And now let's go play softball. And then maybe week 2, maybe week 3, I'm going to kind of feel the group out. But then I'm going to start implementing some devotions into the group. I'm just going to grab my phone and say, hey guys, this is just something that God laid on my heart recently. And so I want to go ahead and read a Bible verse for you. At some point, no matter what your group is, even a financial peace group, I want to encourage you to lead out a spiritual discussion. Because yes, it's great. We're meeting the emotional needs or the financial needs of somebody in the community. But more importantly, we want to meet the spiritual needs of that person. And so even if it's just gathering everybody together to pray, and that's where you start, or maybe it's just, having a discussion about where you go to church and you start talking about your testimony. Whatever works for you, the goal of a small group host at some point is lead a spiritual discussion. And it's not just a one-time thing. Try to get into the rhythm where you're doing that then every week. You got to start somewhere at some point, but then do it from that point on. The second goal of a small group host is lead people to their next step. I've been a Christian ever since I was 13 or 14 years old, so about 20 plus years. And the truth of the matter is everybody, no matter what point of your walk with God, you have areas that you need to grow in. I have a next step. You have a next step. And the people in your small group, there are areas where they could take a next step in growing in their faith with Jesus. And so your job as a host is try to figure out what that next step is for each of your people and encourage them to take that next step. Everybody has one. Maybe it's just reading their Bible, for the very first time, or getting into that morning routine or evening routine of reading their Bible on their own. Maybe it's going to church. Maybe you have people joining your small group, but they don't attend church. Just say, hey, I want to invite you. Come join and attend church with me. I'll save a seat for you. Maybe it's praying more or serving. Maybe you come across somebody and they, the topic of baptism comes up and they're like, man, I would love to be baptized. Encourage them to do it. Say, you know what? That's your next step. I want you to take the next step of getting baptized. You invite all your small group together that particular service, and you're all right there in the front row applauding them as they get baptized. That's what it's all about. And you're encouraging people in your small group to take their next step. So that's the second goal of a host. The third goal is to lead people to serve. I've already talked a little bit about this, of why it's so important to serve, but there's so many different areas where you can serve. It's not just a church-provided event, although I'm going to continue to email out all hosts any opportunities that we come across. I'm going to let all of you know so you can jump on board with that. But also think Think bigger than that. What's something else that you could be doing? The truth of the matter is your neighborhood, your workplace, and everywhere you go, these are all opportunities for outreach and for loving on your community. And so every small group, and we just encourage all of our hosts, lead your people to serve. And then the fourth and final goal of a small group host is lead another leader. That's discipleship, right? That's the Great Commission, to go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them and teaching them. And so how do we make more leaders? Well, we have to give them the opportunity. And so in your small group, as the semester goes on, look for the potential of somebody else that maybe could lead a small group or maybe lead a discussion or maybe pray, and give them the opportunities to do so. Replicate your leadership in someone else in your small group. Give them opportunities to lead, and then encourage them. That's how we empower people, and that's how we raise up new leaders. So those are the goals of a small group and a small group host. The goals: community, care, contributing for your small group. And as a host, lead a spiritual discussion, lead people to their next step, lead people to serve, and lead another leader. Awesome. This next section is tips for leading well. I'm not going to go through all of this in detail, and so you can look over it on your own, but I'm just going to touch on the highlighted portion. One good tip for leading well is communication. Make sure that you communicate with your group before you first meet. Also, just try to figure out what works best for you as far as communication goes, whether that's a group text message, Facebook message, or utilizing our church database, which I'm going to get to here in just a moment. Second is cultivate relationships. I encourage you, don't just hang out with your small group, just in your small group. This should be something that actually goes outside the four walls of your house, that maybe you're going to church together, you have other meetups, you have other interactions, you invite one of the people to coffee. This shouldn't be something that's just your small group and then nothing more. These are the people that God's entrusting you with to do life with. When I say to do life with, that means even when your small group is not meeting. Doesn't mean you have to meet with them every single week or anything. I'm just saying, don't get so laser focused that you're just thinking about your small group. No, interact with them outside your small group as well. Third one, promote participation. All the healthy small groups that I have seen, they have shared participation. It doesn't just all fall on one person's shoulders, but instead they spread it around. Maybe it's preparing the snack or prayer time. They kind of bounce around to different people. Maybe it's planning a social event or even leading the discussion. The best small groups and where the weight is taken off your shoulders is where you have that shared participation. Another tip for leading well is serve together. I've already talked a lot about serving, but yeah, I believe that we are the most like Jesus when we serve, and it does wonders for our group when we serve together. So make sure you do that. Next one is celebrate change. This is an important one. Be intentional with celebrating change, life change in your group. It's been said that what gets celebrated gets repeated. And so if you love something that one of your members is doing in your small group, make it known to everybody. Celebrate that. This person, man, they decided to, start serving at church. And so you bring it up and you're like, yeah, they never served before. And now they're serving, in children's ministry, or they're doing this, they're doing that, or I used the analogy before, I'll use it again. They decided to get baptized. Like, celebrate that. That is a big deal. Somebody in your group accepted Christ. Celebrate that. So that way everybody in your group understands this is important and everybody celebrates together. What gets celebrated gets repeated. And so make sure you celebrate life change in your group. Next one is provide care. If somebody in your small group needs prayer, maybe they fall under some tough times and they have to go to the hospital, maybe set up a meal plan for them or visit them in the hospital. There's a lot of different ways that you can care for your group, but if you want to lead well, just make sure you care truly for those in your group, and you try to facilitate that as a small group host. And then last but not least, encouragement. Encourage those in your group, lift them up. Nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. If your name's Debbie, I apologize. But nobody wants to be around negative Nancy, that just brings the whole room down. Encourage those in your group. Take the time to invest in them, help them to see their next step, encourage them to take their next step, believe in them. We've all had people in our lives those that believe in us, and it's helped us to take that next step and grow to that next level. Well, you're kind of that spiritual guide for them. believe the best in them, encourage them to do that, and help them to take their next step to that next level. All right, sound good so far? Okay, then this next part, I just have some small group important dates to run by you. Obviously, this is, oh, that's funny. I have fall in here. I need to change that to spring. There we go. So spring 2021, small group important dates. Our dates can be listed here. I'm not going to go through them, but that is included in the host training as well. Community outreach just talks about, hey, make sure that's a priority this semester. Try to figure out one way that you as a group can serve together. Spring break is March 22nd through March 28th. I know in 27J, some of that spring break will actually go into the 29th because that's a Monday. So it's your choice if you don't want to meet that week. And across the board, I want to let you guys know there's a lot of flexibility with your small group. You're not required to meet every single week. If all of a sudden you don't meet for 3 weeks, we'll definitely be following up because we just want to make sure that you're doing all right and everything is okay with your small group. But other than that, yeah, if you can't meet one particular week, we completely understand. Life gets busy. But once again, just keep in mind, you're going to get the most fruit and the most out of your small group the more often you can meet. And then April 24th, our small groups end officially. There's some small groups that continue into the summer till Jesus comes, but that's completely up to you as the small group host. We trust you. We're empowering you with a lot of those decisions of what time, when your small group meets, when your small group ends, if you meet for spring break, different stuff like that. Every small group is different, but that's your choice to make. The next section I'm going to go over is how to access your small group in CCB. CCB stands for Church Community Builder. It's our church database that we go over. The real simple way to access this page, and I'll actually just go ahead and bring up Google here to kind of show you. Real simple way, I'm just going to go to orchard.church. Okay, I'm going to go to the main webpage. And once there, I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom. This is the simplest way I can direct you to how to access CCB. And so at the very, very bottom, you're going to see this little button. So it's right underneath our locations and join us online. It says log into MyOC. You click on that button. And once you click on it, it's going to bring up this page that actually requires a login. And so you can see my email address, now you know my username, but also my password. If you have never been to this screen, you don't know what it is or anything, what I want you to do is actually click on this button. We're going to click on request account. Otherwise, if you already have an account, you can just click login, you can go right in. But request account, you're going to go ahead and select the campus. So we're Orchard Church MyOC. If you are Orchard Latino, then obviously you would fill that one out. But you click on that, and then you begin to basically fill this information out, all this different stuff. And then what will happen, just want to let you know, is it is sent to our front office manager, and then it usually takes about 24 hours for them to approve it. Once they've approved it, you'll get an email, a notification of that, and then you'll be ready to go. And so then you can log in to CCB. I'm actually going to bring this back up. I think this will be useful. And so then what you'll see, nope, wrong page. Sorry, I got this little button here and I can't get past it. I'm just going to open up a new tab. So once you're actually there, when you sign in on a computer, you're going to see something that looks similar to this screen. On the far right side, which I'm seeing right here, obviously I'm an admin, so I'm in charge of a lot of different groups, but you should just see maybe 1 or 2 groups. You'll probably see something like this, 2021 spring group hosts, and then maybe something like this of the group that you're leading. We'll say 2021 spring small group, and then your last name. And so if you click on that, I'll just go ahead and click on this one, why not? This is what I'm leading out this spring as a men's softball team. And so this will kind of have some information on the front screen. This is the info tab. And so it'll kind of say when your group meets. It'll say it usually down below, and then also right here on the right-hand side, also the leadership of your group, who is listed as a leader. If you click on messages, this is where you could send a message out to everybody in your group. You click on message, send it to all the participants. If you want group replies, where if somebody replies and it goes to everybody, you can do all. Or you can just say only me, which I prefer. And so that way it's a reply just to me. And then you can go ahead and, type in whatever you want, attach files even, and then send that out as a group message through the system. Now keep in mind, like I said, you can use Facebook Messenger, you can use text messaging, whatever. You don't have to use a system. Why this is useful is it'll actually create a database and save your message so you can always go back and view it. So if you want all your messages to be in one place, you can go ahead and utilize it here, but you don't have to. Next is calendar. So whenever you're actually going to start meeting, it'll be listed here. Mine should be, February, we're going to start having our games. And so that way it's on the calendar. I know when we're meeting. This really is helpful for when you meet bi-weekly. Sometimes weeks start to blur together and you can't remember if you met last week or not. You can view here when the next time is, and everybody in your small group can as well. Files. You don't have to use this, but you could upload a file. Be like, hey, this is a PDF that was really helpful for me, or this is a Bible study that I really enjoyed. You could do that. Needs requests. This is really cool. This you can actually set up different needs for your small group, like potluck. And so people, you can kind of all come together. One person could do chips and salsa. Another person can do like a casserole. And so you could set that up here. I'm not going to go fully in depth with it. There's a lot of other resources and tools out there that you could do. Sign up geniuses and whatnot, but this does provide that opportunity. You basically say what it is, chips and salsa, the coordinator, I'm coordinating it. Go down here. Oh, sorry. Actually, I apologize. This could be like Mexican night. And then down here, you could do chips and salsa, and then put the date of when you're meeting, all right, it's going to be the 25th. And you could fill out all that different stuff. You can click save. And then the most important part, I'm not going to do it because then I'll create this and I can't delete it. But once you click save, then it'll have an option to share with everybody in your group. So you click that share button, it goes out to everybody, and then everybody would just click a box to be able to take an item. It's a real simple, easy way to set up like a potluck meal for your small group if you wanted to do that. So that's needs. And if you need additional help with that, I would love to walk you through it, or one of our small group coaches. We actually have a team of 7 coaches, and with 75 small groups, that's a lot of small groups for me to be able to oversee. And I can't give that personal touch to everybody, but we have 7 other coaches. So there's a team of 8 of us, and we try to spread out all the small groups within us. So that way we can help you out if you have any questions. So whether it's me or a small group coach, we would love to help you out with that. And then participants. So anybody that's in your small group will be added here. And so my men's softball group, it's interesting. I got all these different people that are interested or that joined it. And so those are the people that are in my group, and I can send out a mass message, and and they're ready to go. I can add new people to this group as well. So this way I can see, I don't want to give out personal information. I actually shouldn't show too much of this. I can do, phone numbers and email addresses and all that different stuff. I can always see it right there on my screen. So awesome. A few of those people, they wouldn't mind because I know them really well, and one of them is a pastor here. So, all right, didn't realize that they were all listed on there. I probably shouldn't have clicked on that. Okay, I digress. So that's CCB. Encourage you to set up your account if you haven't already. It's a huge, huge resource. Let me go ahead and exit out of this and go back to our guides. So things to do after this meeting, if you haven't already, set up my IOC accounts, which I just walked you through. Also, we have the Lead app. Definitely encourage you, use the Lead app. In fact, I'm going to switch over here. I'm not going to go through this. If you want that physical guide, this will have all these, but this is how to take attendance using the Lead app. Super simple. You basically go to groups, you click on your group, you'll click on attendance, you basically pick on the day for attendance, and then you would list the number. That's actually for visitors. So you'll list the number here if you have any visitors that's not on your list, but otherwise you just click the box next to their name, and then you just click next. So super simple. It'll say how many people were there. Here you can include event notes, praise and prayer. If there's any way that we can be praying for you as a small group team, you can list that here. And then email summary. You don't have to send it to us. As long as you're taking attendance, we're happy with it. But you could send the summary to leaders. So it'll just go to you, maybe your spouse, and then the small group team. So maybe myself as the director, and then the coach that oversees you. That's how you take attendance. Very, very simple. But we have that included in the attachment that I sent you, but then also that physical guide as well. All right, moving on. Next thing, we're almost done. I want to let you know about, this is very important, is our small group childcare supplement. A lot of people don't know about this. We want everybody to know about it. We put it out there on social media. We try to get the word out the best we can. But basically, we saw a few years back that one of the biggest obstacles to somebody joining a small group, it sounds bad, but is having kids. I have 4 kids. I get it. We've hosted a small group. There's a lot of distractions at times. And then we have families coming over with more kids. one of the last small groups we led, there was 12 adults and 14 kids. So the kids outnumbered us. But we want to help. We want to help with childcare costs. There's some people that want to jump in a small group, but they can't afford paying for a babysitter every single year. And so this is a supplement that we provide. Also look at it as a reimbursement. I'm just reluctant to use that word because we can't reimburse the full amount. But here are our rates that we do. And so let's say there's 4 kids. And the person meets, your group meets for 2.5 hours. That includes just even the arrival time. Afterwards, you would fill out a group and you can be reimbursed $23.75 to your PayPal account. You just have to set up a PayPal account. That's how we reimburse you. Who qualifies for this? It could be you as the host, where you hire a babysitter. Maybe it's a family member or a trusted babysitter that you really know. You have them in your house. And then you fill out this form afterwards. And so then they're watching the kids. They're just, putting a movie on for them, taking care of them while you guys have a discussion time. And then they can be reimbursed for this amount. Some hosts, they're like, you know what, that's not enough for my babysitter. We really want to appreciate our babysitter. Well, then each person pitches in $1, or each person pitches in $2 on top of that. But then you're paying them a lot more than what you normally would, and you're not breaking the bank at the same point. Here's the important part. A lot of people don't know. Anybody attending a small group can use this. Not just small group hosts, but small group members who attend a small group that does not provide childcare. So what you could do essentially is host a small group. And let's say I have 8 different families. That's a lot. Maybe I should use a smaller number. 4 different families that are attending my small group. Well, each of them can hire a babysitter within their house. I send them the form for this, and then they fill it out, and they get reimbursed for it for their babysitter as well. And so, this is a great underused program that we have with the church. We believe so much in small groups that we want to try to remove as many obstacles as possible, and that's why we provide this. If you join that Facebook group that I'm going to invite you to, if you're on Facebook, then you will already see this form posted. If it's you're just getting the communication by email, I will post this a few weeks before the first time we meet, so then that way you always have access to it. Most important thing, fill out this form within 30 days of attendance. We can't just let you saving up all of your small group dates with babysitter, and then all of a sudden you get this paycheck of like $1,000. So we do have a limit of 30 days after the time you met. Just please fill out that form, and then we'll put it in your PayPal account. It usually just takes a couple of days, so it's really, really nice. Awesome. So you have that form. I'm going to come back to this here in a moment. The other piece that I have that I want to walk you through, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. I did provide you with this PDF. It's a great article on your first night survival guide tips. It talks through preparation, just that communication piece, food, how do you plan food? Nothing creates conversation like cuisine. Amen. I agree with that. Setting up the environment, being prepared with the environment, prayer, and then go time. The day of your small group, it just gives you some recommendation, some more tips on what to do with your small group. The first night you might want to use as an icebreaker, just kind of breaking down those walls, getting to know people, casting vision for your small group. So your first night, just let people know, hey, what are we going to be doing? Why are we meeting? How often are we going to be meeting? What are we looking to accomplish? Will we have weekly homework? Make sure you explain. For most of you, no, you don't. For some of you going through books, yes, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take it slow. Don't do too much too soon. And then next steps after you've met. So then that way they kind of breathe, or you can kind of breathe and then just kind of read through this. Okay, right away, this is what to do, and then later on, and then don't stress out. I think that's the most important part. I provided that article. And then last but not least, going to go to this last page. I also included in that form and your guide a resource for you. I am here to help you. I want you guys to hear me loud and clear. I believe so much in our small groups, and I'm so excited that you are hosting a small group. Seriously, I cannot thank you enough. I really believe it's one of the best ways that we can fulfill the Great Commission. That, I'm doing a small group over here, and you're doing a small group where you're at, and other people are doing small groups. And you think about it, like we have 58 small group hosts, and each one has about 8 or 10 people. Let's just, pastor numbers, I'll round up to 10. That means 580 people we are encountering every single week or bi-weekly, and we are investing in their lives, and we're creating that connection, that community. That just gets me fired up. And so I am always here available to help you out with whatever you need. If you have any of those questions, Maybe it's how to deal with politics in your small group. Maybe it's dealing with conflict. The two people just butt heads. Maybe it's because of politics. Maybe it's, man, we're overrun with kids. And so what do we do with that? Or, I have people that are just dropping off. And so why aren't people getting connected? There's so many tips out there. I would love to help. Our small group coaches would love to help. But also just to give you some other resources. These are a lot of the websites that I go to when I'm stumped. And I have been stumped at times because every small group is different. There's groupleaders.org. Some of these have some great articles out there of just different things I haven't even thought about. There's churchleaders.com, smallgroupnetwork.com. They have a lot of resources as well. Smallgroups.com, smallgroups.net. I love how all those names kind of coincide. It's almost the same name, just slightly different domains. But these are just some other resources to try to prepare you as a small group host. But yeah, reach out. We'd love to pray with you. In fact, your small group coach is going to be checking in. I'm going to be checking in. And we just want to support you in whatever way possible. The last thing we want is for you to feel like you're alone on an island doing it all on your own. Listen, there's so many different people that have hosted small groups, and there's nothing new under the sun. And so we are all in this together. So if there's any way that I can be a blessing to you moving forward, feel free to reach out. I am included in here my email address, ryan.singleton@orchard.church, and also the church number 303-373-2828. But yeah, that's it for all of the training material. Like I said, I don't want this video to be too long. If you got this far, congrats. I can't believe you did it. Great job. Maybe you just fast forwarded this section. If you did, go back. There's a lot of useful information walking you through the guide. But this is what I want to say. While I have your attention, I've already thanked you so much for being a small group host. And I just want you to know what you do matters. You are investing in people's lives. And the way that I look at small groups is, Jesus had his 12 disciples. And maybe you don't have 12 people sign up for your group. Maybe you don't have 12 people join your group. Maybe you only have 3. First, I'll say the biggest recruiter for your small group is you. So go after people, invite your neighbors, invite people that you know to your small group. Don't just sit back and just wait people to come to you. Take the initiative and try to invite and fill up your small group. The second thing I would say is, even if you only have 2 people, even if you only have 3 people, praise God. Praise God that you have that many people in your small group. And this is what I encourage you to do. Focus on what God has entrusted you with. Focus on those 3, because before you know it, you'd be surprised. Maybe those 3 invite somebody else, and now you have 6. And then all of a sudden they tell about somebody else, and now you have 12. Every group has to start somewhere. So even if you just have a little interaction, I want to encourage you, don't cancel your small group. God has entrusted that person or those people into your life for a reason, for a season, and there's a purpose, the reason why God has brought them into your life. I encourage you, befriend them on Facebook. Just reach out to them, let them know that you care for them, and be consistent with your times of meeting, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. And once again, I just encourage you with those 3 goals. You guys remember them? Community, care, and contributing. That's the 3 goals of a small group. And then as a host, lead a spiritual discussion with them at one point in time. Lead that spiritual discussion and then go on from there. Lead them to their next step. Lead them to serve, and then lead another leader. And if you're doing this, you are fulfilling the Great Commission. Whether you realize it or not, you're raising up leaders around you, and you're making disciples. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so excited for what God's about to do through your small group. And just so you know, our small group team, we're praying for you. And like I said, we're here if you need anything. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk with you soon.